The events unfolding these days might just rewrite everything we understand about our place in the cosmos. Even as you watch this video, the interstellar object identified as 3I Atlas has reached perihelion, its closest approach to the Sun. It is a critical moment, and what is occurring right now is unlike anything astronomers have ever witnessed. This is not just another comet. 3I Atlas is acting in ways that contradict every existing model of celestial mechanics, shifting its tail, radiating strange colors, and traveling through space at speeds that shouldn't be possible. Some argue it's merely a natural wanderer from a distant star. Others, including one of Harvard's boldest astrophysicists, suspect it could be something else entirely, something manufactured. And now, converging data from Hubble, the James Webb Telescope, and dozens of ground observatories point toward one terrifying possibility. What is happening with 3I Atlas right now could either be the most significant discovery in human history or our first warning. When the Atlas survey in Chile first detected 3I Atlas in July 2025, astronomers immediately spotted something odd. Its orbit wasn't simply elongated. It was hyperbolic. It wasn't circling the Sun like every asteroid, comet, or planet we know. It was just passing through. This confirmed it as only the third interstellar object ever observed, following Oumuamua in 2017 and Borisov in 2019. But 3I Atlas stood apart, even compared to those visitors. With a velocity exceeding 210,000 kilometers per hour, it is the fastest object of its kind ever recorded. Its path brought it surprisingly close, just 1.36 astronomical units from the Sun, and later about $1.80 from Earth, roughly 267 million kilometers away. Distant, yet close enough to scrutinize every detail. What they discovered during those initial observations stunned the scientific community. The light signature didn't match any known asteroid or comet. It was too structured, too reflective, and too stable under solar radiation. Whatever 3I Atlas is, we have never seen anything like it. As it neared the Sun, telescopes worldwide began detecting anomalies that sent shockwaves through the field of astronomy. The Hubble Space Telescope picked up something unprecedented, an anti-tail, a bright jet of material projecting toward the Sun rather than away from it. Weeks later, that anti-tail abruptly reversed, morphing into a standard tail pointing outward. The shift was so symmetrical and sudden that many speculated it was a form of controlled propulsion. Both the Nordic Optical Telescope in Spain and the Keck Observatory in Hawaii confirmed the shift. Meanwhile, the James Webb Space Telescope uncovered something even stranger. The object's coma, the cloud enveloping its nucleus, was composed of 87% carbon dioxide, 9% carbon monoxide, and only 4% water. No comet in our solar system shares that composition. It is nearly bone dry, yet glowing in the infrared as if radiating internal heat. Even more bizarre, spectroscopy exposed a massive CO2 cloud surrounding the object, stretching nearly 350,000 kilometers, wider than Jupiter's diameter. Within it were traces of hydrogen cyanide and a high ratio of nickel with almost no iron. While possibly natural, as one scientist whispered, those are industrial ratios. When 3I Atlas hit perihelion, many predicted it would disintegrate under solar radiation like countless comets before it. Instead, it did something no one foresaw. It survived. Not a single fragment was found. In fact, it emerged stronger. Observers noted that a coronal mass ejection from the Sun struck its path directly, a burst powerful enough to instantly vaporize fragile bodies. Yet 3I Atlas barely flinched. It absorbed the impact, its surface temperature rising and then stabilizing, continuing its trajectory intact, as if designed to withstand the heat. Its elongated shape, with a 10-to-1 aspect ratio, mirrored that of Oumuamua, long, thin, and almost aerodynamic. However, while Oumuamua tumbled erratically, 3I Atlas remained steady, reflecting light with a strange negative polarization, a property shared by no known natural object. Scientists began referring to it as the unbreakable visitor. That was when theorists, including Harvard's Avi Loeb, placed it in Category 4 of the Loeb extraterrestrial scale, a ranking system for the likelihood of interstellar objects being artificial. According to Loeb, there's a 40% chance 3I Atlas is technological. Others call that speculation. But as each new anomaly emerges, that number feels less like science fiction and more like a prophecy. Right now, 3I Atlas is executing the maneuver that could change everything, the moment physicists like Michio Kaku have been waiting for. If the object accelerates beyond the predictions of solar gravity, it means only one thing. It is under control. This maneuver, known as the Oberth effect, is a technique spacecraft use to gain massive speed by firing propulsion near a gravity source. In this case, the Sun. If 3I Atlas attempts this, it would gain an impossible amount of kinetic energy, enough to slingshot out of the solar system, or worse, redirect its path toward Earth. Astronomers around the globe are watching, calculating, and waiting. There is no confirmed deviation so far, but data is still pouring in. Meanwhile, NASA quietly activated its Planetary Defense Network, a coordinated campaign involving 227 observatories worldwide, officially labeled a training exercise. But the timing is no coincidence. When rumors began to spread that radio telescopes had detected a weak but consistent signal synchronized with 3I Atlas's orbit, the internet exploded. Was it interference? Was it calling home? Or was it something else? A whisper across the void from a machine older than our civilization. Days after 3I Atlas completed its perihelion passage, something impossible occurred. It slowed down, not in a way physics could explain, not through solar wind, drag, or gravitational deceleration, but in a way that seemed deliberate. Tracking data from both the European Space Agency and NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory showed a measurable velocity reduction of around 0.08 meters per square second, consistent over 20 hours. It was as if the object had gently applied the brakes. Natural objects don't do that. They don't resist the sun's gravity with controlled precision. Yet here was 3I Atlas, an object hundreds of meters across, executing a maneuver smoother than any spacecraft we have ever launched. The deceleration happened exactly as it crossed the threshold known as the thermal equilibrium zone, where an object's internal heat equals the solar energy it absorbs. The implication terrified everyone. Something inside 3I Atlas might be reacting to its environment, regulating its temperature, and perhaps, just perhaps, adjusting its course. That same week, the Mitsuhara Deep Space Radio Observatory in Japan picked up a narrowband signal originating from the general direction of 3I Atlas. It was faint, but undeniably structured, a repeating series of 3 pulses followed by a pause, repeating every 247 seconds. This was the same mysterious interval recorded months earlier when the object was behind the sun. At first, astronomers dismissed it as satellite interference or equipment noise. But when independent teams in Italy, Chile, and South Africa detected the same pattern, the scientific community could no longer ignore it. The signal was real. Even more unnerving was its stability. It didn't fluctuate with cosmic background interference or solar wind. It remained constant, as if locked to an internal clock. When analyzed through frequency modulation, the pulses showed phase coherence, a sign of intentional encoding, not random emission. NASA refused public comment, but an internal leak from the SETI Institute revealed that the signal carried faint harmonics in the hydrogen band, the universal frequency used in theoretical interstellar communication. Someone, or something, wanted to be noticed. Overnight, the scientific community fractured. Half argued that 3I Atlas was the first physical evidence of an interstellar probe, perhaps technology or debris from a long-extinct civilization. The other half fought to preserve order, claiming it was all coincidence, that nature could mimic intelligence if observed long enough. But as data continued to arrive, denial became impossible. The James Webb Space Telescope, reoriented to track the object from its L2 orbit, detected an unnatural polarization pattern emanating from the surface of 3I Atlas. Unlike any known asteroid or comet, it reflected light in alternating planes, as though rotating layers of material were intentionally modulating the reflection. The readings even showed microsecond variations matching the rhythm of the radio pulses. Simultaneously, telescopes in Chile observed that its tail had reformed into two separate streams, not parallel, but crossing at a precise 90-degree angle. That geometry does not occur naturally. It was as if the object had split its emission, using its own vaporized gases to send optical signals across space. Theorists began to wonder, what if these weren't random emissions? What if 3I Atlas was using light itself to communicate, not with us, but with something else? Then came the event that changed everything. On August 29th, as 3I Atlas moved beyond Earth's orbital plane, its trajectory shifted by 0.11 degrees, a small but deliberate motion that placed it directly in line with the ecliptic plane of the outer planets. The alignment was perfect, too perfect. For 27 hours, the object's projected path formed a direct line through Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and beyond. Every telescope trained on it recorded a strange luminescence radiating from its core, fluctuating at regular intervals. Astronomers noticed that these intervals coincided exactly with planetary orbital resonances, as if 3I Atlas were calibrating itself to the harmonic frequencies of our solar system. The alignment was not random, it was choreographed. But what followed was even more chilling. For the first time since its discovery, the object emitted a visible flash, a burst of ultraviolet light lasting 2.8 seconds, strong enough to ionize the solar wind in its vicinity. The flash wasn't diffused or wide. It was directional, aimed toward deep interstellar space. When scientists traced the beam's vector, it pointed precisely toward the coordinates of a region between Lyra and Vega, the same region where the mysterious wow signal was detected in 1977. Silence followed. The radio pulses ceased, the flash stopped, and 3I Atlas went dark. For weeks after 3I Atlas went dark, the world watched in silence. Every radar dish, every telescope, every instrument capable of tracking it was locked onto its last known coordinates. But there was nothing. No heat signature, no light, no reflected signal. It had vanished. NASA officially declared it optically lost, meaning it was gone beyond detection range. Yet, deep in the raw data archives of the James Webb Space Telescope, something remained. A fragment of light recorded in the final milliseconds before the ultraviolet burst faded. When the data was reconstructed, it revealed a faint interference pattern, a modulation within the light itself, like an optical fingerprint intentionally imprinted onto the universe. And within that pattern was structure. The modulation wasn't random noise. It contained repeating frequency ratios, the same one seen in planetary resonances, hydrogen transitions, and, most eerily, in the Schumann resonance, the electromagnetic heartbeat of Earth's atmosphere. Whatever 3I Atlas emitted in that last pulse was not a simple flash. It was a message written in light, encoded in a language older than words. When scientists at the Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics ran the data through waveform analysis, the results stunned them. The signal mirrored the same prime number sequences embedded in the earlier radio emissions, but now they were arranged into a three-dimensional structure, a lattice of interlocking spirals resembling a double helix. It wasn't text. It was geometry, a blueprint, a universal constant. Avi Loeb, the man who had once called 3I Atlas possibly artificial, described the discovery as a cosmic signature of intent. According to his report, the geometry represented a form of resonant encoding, a way of storing vast amounts of information within patterns of energy rather than through language or symbols. If true, it meant that 3I Atlas hadn't sent us a message to read. It had left behind a code for us to experience, one that could only be understood by recreating its frequencies, by making the universe itself vibrate the way it once did. NASA immediately classified the data, but not before several independent researchers mirrored the waveform and ran it through quantum resonance simulators. When they did, something extraordinary happened. A repeating harmonic began to emerge, growing stronger with each cycle, as though the waveform was interacting with the very fabric of space-time. Then, suddenly, the signal inverted and the simulation shut down. But before it did, it displayed one final phrase, generated automatically by the AI translation module trained to interpret mathematical symmetries as linguistic meaning. The phrase read, "We remember you." The message spread like wildfire across scientific circles before being wiped from public databases. NASA denied everything. SETI went silent. Even the European Space Agency's data archives were briefly locked under cosmic security protocols. Officially, 3I Atlas was declared a natural interstellar comet, its anomalies dismissed as data errors. Unofficially, whispers grew louder that the object's final signal was not a farewell, but an activation. 2 months later, several observatories began detecting faint echoes of that same harmonic, not from the direction of Lyra or Vega, but from deep within our own solar system. The resonance matched perfectly, as if something nearby had received the transmission and answered. No one knows what that means yet. Some think it is merely solar interference. Others believe it is a cosmic echo bouncing through the heliosphere. But a small group of scientists, the same ones who first decoded 3I Atlas's signal, believe something far more profound. They believe that whatever sent that object didn't leave us a threat or a warning, but a reminder. A reminder that intelligence might not live outside the universe, but within it, in the harmony between matter, light, and consciousness itself. Because maybe, just maybe, 3I Atlas didn't come to observe us. Maybe it came to wake us up. So, if this story made you question what is really out there, and whether something might be watching us right now, not from above, but from the fabric of the cosmos itself, don't look away. Subscribe to this channel. We uncover the discoveries the world isn't ready to face. Turn on notifications, because when that signal returns, you will want to be here when the universe answers back. I'd love to hear what you think about this, so drop a comment below. If you enjoyed our conversation today, please share this video and subscribe to help the channel grow. Every bit of support counts.